While Road America proved extremely popular last week, today's track is one that doesn't often top drivers and fans' lists. Okayama was brought onto the iRacing service as part of the base content, but doesn't seem to capture the hearts of most. Yet, it's also given us some of Kamel's most exciting moments over its history. A tight and technical challenge awaits the drivers as we get ready to watch round 2 of the iRacing Kamel GT series. And you'll see it all live here on the Global SimRacing channel. Hi, I'm Joe Peak, and with me in the booth is Adam Lindgren. Behind the scenes is our director, Sean Crackers Ambrose, and he's using cameras provided by Dougie Beard. To help our viewers who may be looking at this Japanese circuit and trying to pinpoint where they've heard of it before, we have our handy track guide to help you out. Welcome to Okayama International Circuit. Located an hour's drive northeast of its titular city, it sits nestled among the green, lush hills in southern Japan. Built in 1990, it's most well known for the 2 visits Formula One made in 94 and 95. But since then, national and international touring car series have come to race here as well. Otherwise, the 2 available layouts are mostly used for club racing and amateur track days. The full course is just under 4 kilometers with 11 turns, and the short version is a measly 2 kilometers with 7 turns. It does this by cutting out the portion between Williams and Revolver. While hairpins abound throughout the lap, overtakes tend to be surprisingly hard. The first corner, Atwood Curve, and Hairpin are the main spots where drivers can attempt a traditional pass. Hairpin makes for unique battles though. The unusually steep banking for a road course, plus the switchback into Revolver, means that holding it around the outside can reward a brave driver. However, while it is a more modern facility, runoff in some places is shockingly small, and it can be easy to damage your car. This section in particular around Revolver, Piper, and Redmond gets slightly claustrophobic. The pit entry requires some practice since you must use the inside lane of Mike Knight, otherwise you'll get a penalty. While it might not see as much use in the real world, here on iRacing this track is part of the base content, and so new road racers will find themselves here frequently. With it being suitable for a wide range of styles of cars, it's sure to excite many of the competitors who tackle it. Well, it looks like, Adam, even though the good news is that while the fans might not be as familiar with this place, the drivers certainly should be.
Oh, for sure, Joe. Okayama International Circuit may not look like much from above, but this narrow, winding motor park circuit is one of the least talked about but most ubiquitous circuits on iRacing. With 2.3 miles or 3.7 kilometers of 11 undulating turns, the primary challenge of the circuit comes from its constant elevation changes and myriad of 90-degree plus corners with high aggressive curves at the apexes. Both classes will struggle heavily with the newly introduced brake fade this season, but the Audis will struggle with it most today, lugging around the most weight and a car that never really wanted to turn in the first place. Using a rearward brake bias has always been the strategy to get the Audi to turn in, but with the new brake fade introduced, that strategy only lasts so long, forcing setup makers to build a looser set to allow for better turn-in. But this heavily affects their drive-off, so there's a balance and compromise that needs to be sought after. The Nissans, on the other hand, will also struggle with the brake fade, but that's the only struggle they will find in this newly refined machine. The newly adjusted tire model provides amazing quartering capabilities and drive-off like the likes of which have only existed for the premium downforce machines on iRacing in the past. Multi-class is where the Nissan's challenge will lie, with brake fading Audis blowing the apex of every tight corner and interrupting the speedy flow of the Nissans if they don't time their passes right. Suffice it to say, it's a new day in Kamel with all these changes, and witnessing how it will affect racing at this storied track is something I simply can't wait for, Joe.
I think it's going to put on some fun for us, that's for sure. Now, let's take a look at the championship after one round as we glance at the prototypes. First up, Alex Millward topping the sheets with Alex Gall following him home. Cy Audra was the one who finished third, and then Fabian Gerber, the multi-time champion, only had fourth last time around. Hovdal took a fifth place, so some familiar faces, some of which are returning after a bit of a break, but still giving us an interesting start to the season. What about over in the GTOs?
Yeah, Yuko Leskola took that win over Villy Rolla and takes the championship points lead. Reed Miller down there in third. Then we have a new name, Ricardo Fernandez, doing a great job pulling off that fourth place finish last week ahead of Rob Olenek, so that puts him on the board. But otherwise, very familiar names up there, and it's going to be a tight race between Yuko and Villy if Villy continues to show up this season.
Now for today's race, that should at least be familiar as well. We are in round 2 out of 12, and it's a 40-minute race, so it's the sprint format that they use most of the time. It is an open setup series, so the drivers are able to tweak the cars to their liking, and there is no fast repair. There's a lot of close barriers around here. If drivers get damaged, that's going to be a huge disadvantage having to come in to get that repaired in the pits. And there you can see if they get too many incidents, the penalties that they can accrue, which includes a drive-through and then eventually a disqualification. Still waiting for the first of our lap times to hit the board here. I think Volaire will be our first one across from what I'm seeing. As no, it looks like maybe Hovdal in that number 5. Or no, Millward's in the 5 rather. He's coming around currently and looking to set his first time as we watch Hovdal cycle his way out of the final corner. I think this is starting his first flying lap, though. Maybe not, as he puts one down. Indeed, no, he is the first one across. So that puts him up to the top spot. And as the other drivers come on through, looks like Tobias Gerber actually quite quick today. We're still waiting for his brother Fabian to put one down. Hugh Haycock's the first one to put a marker on the GTOs.
Yeah, looks like Ian has brought Hugh, possibly his brother Hugh along to race in this series over from the SRF series. So awesome to see him for sure in here. We see Fabian Jungbluth crossing the line with a 1:17.341. Fortunately for Fabian, that's not going to be his best lap that he could produce right now. We have Joel Lafilippe, who is a newer name to our series, who also crosses the line. Good enough for 10th position right now. Yuko Leskola, though, second to Hugh Haycock, so Hugh putting in a good time here in that Audi.
That's impressive, because in the warm-up I was watching, Hugh was still about 4 to 5 tenths off of Yuko. Granted, I guess it's a different game when you're trying to get on it from the word go in qualifying. Reed Miller, as he crosses, is a 1:27.0, and that is good enough for third. On to the second row.
Yeah, good job for him. Matthias Hovdal still in that provisional pole. Alex Millward jumps up to second with crossing the line. Nicholas Schneider only good enough for 6th at the moment. Tobias Gerber crossing the line, a 1:15.982. Great time for him, but only good enough for second position, knocking Alex Millward down a little bit. Hovdal still with that provisional pole there, and here comes Hugh Haycock once again, maximizing all of the track, trying to put in the best time he possibly can. Crosses the line, a 1:25.930. That's going to stretch the gap to Yuko down to a half a second.
Now, a correction for myself. We do not have Fabian Gerber here today, just Tobias. Now, iRacing's 12 Hours of Sebring is taking place currently, so he might be out participating in that as we watch Hapich go just about a tenth quicker and find some space. But this is Leskola now. Half a second to make up. Does he have that speed this next time by? It's a 25.7, and yes, he goes above Haycock's by a tenth and a half.
And Alex Gall takes provisional pole away from Hovdal with his fastest lap, making it about a quarter of a second to Hovdal. Fantastic work there from him. Hovdal's already completed both of his laps, so he won't have a chance to respond. Reed Miller crossing the line now, trying to improve from his 1:27 flat. A 1:26.9 is not going to be good enough to improve. He'll stay in third.
I think we're still waiting on a couple cars to get a time down. I see Ibora in the 26 and Hockeldinger in the 37. It looks like Hines actually coming around to set his second lap, but it's for some reason the first one did not count, and I'm not sure why. As he crosses, a 1:33.1 will absolutely count, but it's going to put him 15th, which is way down the order.
Mudrak currently in 13th, trying to improve from a 1:17.9. A 1:17.6 will improve his time, but only one position up to 12th position. Kraytrick just ahead of him in 11th, trying to improve from a 1:17.3. If he can get to the 1:16s, it would help, but a 1:17.370 is a little bit of an improvement, but will keep him in 11th place. Alex Gall, our pole sitter currently right now, it doesn't look like he's going to have any challenge, so his last lap was not the fastest, but he's going to stay right there. Hovdal has already completed his lap, so he's just doing some more testing out here. Remember, these guys have new tires, and that's definitely affecting the drive of these machines.
Yeah, that's all of our GTP drivers done with qualifying with about a minute and a half left to go. Let's look at Monsiero, but he's already done his 2 laps. I see Abora coming around right now. Trying to see if we've got anybody else out who can complete one.
And Joe, I think now would be a great time to talk about a change to the Nissans. Is something that we've been noticing over the last 2 weeks. It's something that we've been told about. The Nissans we've always believed have had a little bit of turbo lag, but it turns out that was actually just a flaw in how the tires behave for these cars. And according to drivers who've actually driven the cars themselves, this car has no turbo lag whatsoever. So these Nissans are actually behaving like they probably did more accurately to how they actually drove when they were racing. So the turbo lag is gone, and these cars are complete beasts.
And unfortunate news for fans of the 26 car, he will not be able to complete a lap. We do have 30 seconds left in qualifying, but he'll not be around soon enough. Look at how these things fly through the corners, though. Not many that really will play to the advantage of this prototype, unfortunately, as they aren't as big of fans, of course, of those slower corners. So we'll let the clock tick down the rest of the way for round 2 here. Definitely an open door for a few drivers who are looking for a victory, but Alex Gall is possibly going to deny those, as he is going to try and get his 3rd win in a row. And to start him off, he's going to kick it off with a pole position, but Matthias Hovdal will start next to him on that front row. Tobias Gerber will be in P3, and Alex Millward will be in 4th. Sean Campbell, he starts 5th today with Laust Olsen in the 6th spot. Nicholas Schneider starts P7, and Fabian Jungbluth in 8th. Then it's Heitor Sintez Guindo starting 9th. On the outside of row 5, it's Jacob Leon. On the next slide, it's Martin Kraytrick starting 11th. Then it's Joseph Mudrak in 12th, and Radar Anderson in 13th. Joe LaFilippe is starting 14th, and Jonathan Rickard 15th. Then the last few, Jeff McConey in 16th, Paul Duke in 17th, and Mark Bolaire in 18th, with the final 2 being Jeffrey Furcon and Flynn Danger. 20 cars in our GTP field.
Yuko Leskola takes the pole position over Hugh Haycox, who comes in 2nd. Reed Miller's going to start off in 3rd today, with Maximilian Thomason starting off in 4th. Niels Kaur, 5th position right now, with Ian Haycox, Hugh's brother, starting off in 6th. Then we have Jamie Hamill-Smith 7th for the Audis, with Rafael de Souza Montero starting off in the 8th position. Robin Happich in 9th, and Pablo Rangel's going to round out your top 10 starters. Then we have Brian Shanahan in 11th. Mika Tupola starting off in 12th position, battling with Hideki Koivisto and Oren Laskin for 13th and 14th. Heinz Hoch-Holdinger is going to start off in 15th, with Albrecht Libeno starting off in the 16th position. Then Xavi Abura is going to start off in 17th, rounding out your 37 car... Actually, sorry, Daniel Phillips missed him. Going to start off in 18th, rounding out your 38 car field here in the Kamel GT Series.
Relatively full fields, despite competing with one of the most popular endurance races here on iRacing. You can see them taking off, working through the final portion of the circuit. It won't be a full lap. They start on the backstretch. Well, one of the 2 backstretches, I guess you could say. They run behind the pit area here at Okayama, and Alex Gall will have control. So he will have to stave off Matthias Hovdal, as the Porsche pace car going to duck in now. Gall waits patiently. Does he give it a long wait, or does he try and go mid-corner? As they look for the green flag, he's going to keep them very checked up. A long, long wait here for the number 1 machine. And now he is on it. Green flag is out. Hovdal got caught napping as Tobias Gerber is already to his inside, coming down into the first corner, but he's not deep enough on the brakes. Behind them, Millward nearly goes off the track, but off the corner. Hovdal slow yet again. They continue side by side. As they start to settle out, we got to go to the GTOs.
Hugh Haycock squeezed Yuko Lesko a little bit going through the last corner in order to enable himself to get into that position, but look at this, cold brakes. Everyone going a little bit wide through the first couple of corners, but Hugh Haycock currently leading over Yuko Lesko. Reed Miller goes wide as they go through Williams. This is going to open up an opportunity for Max Thompson and Niels Kor, who are tucked in behind him, but Reed Miller maintains the position. Currently, Hugh Haycock's over Yuko Lesko and Reed Miller.
And Millward's going to be able to get past Tobias Gerber for third. Hovdal managed to get back in front of them, and that's going to check things up behind as they now come into the slower part of the circuit, side-by-side battling there between Schneider and Campbell for fifth.
Nice, good job battling for everybody. Everyone looks like they're behaving pretty well there in the GTPs, staying nice and tucked in behind one another. In the GTOs, it's a little bit more different of a story. Niels Kor making a pass on Max Thompson to make himself go up to the fourth position. Hugh Haycock still ahead of Yuko Lesko, but Yuko's putting some heavy pressure on Hugh right now. Reed Miller just trying to catch up to the two of them after going wide through Williams in this first lap.
Back up to our leader in the prototypes, a 1.3 second lead over Hovdal, who himself is nearly a second ahead of Alex Millward. The top drivers appearing to spread apart somewhat, finding themselves their own little place, but Schneider and Campbell are still hot on each other's heels, and Campbell takes a little bit of a poke to the inside into Atwood, then thinks twice about it.
Yeah, not much he could have done there. He needs to gain the speed off the corner. Looks like he's got it, but remember, Nicholas Schneider tends to run with lower downforce, so he tends to be pretty quick on these straightaways. Even with the draft, Sean Campbell isn't catching that much, but he's got enough for an overlap. He's going to send it deep into the corner. Can both of them break enough in time? Yes, they can. Not quite as quick as last race, which means they have a little bit more braking to work with, but now side by side as they go through this very complicated section here. Oh my goodness, Sean Campbell almost forced off track there as they go through Piper. Oh my goodness, Nicholas Schneider just getting the overlap completed. He's going to maintain that fifth position. Sean Campbell's not going to dive it down as they head towards Redmond.
Gave Campbell barely enough room, but Haycock's having to defend slightly on Leskola down into that same hairpin. We hop on board with the Finn as he holds very tight to the right side out of that corner. Different lines between the pair of them. Now into Piper. Both of them trying their best to get the car to accelerate off, and it's a good one for Leskola. He's going to take the chance, knowing this might be one of the rare opportunities to try and affect the pass. He gets side by side, but he doesn't get it done. It switches back into Hobbs here. Still continuing wheel to wheel and getting the acceleration. Leskola completes the job.
Misshift for Hugh Haycock means that he falls back a little bit. We saw the fastest lap come out of Matthias Hovdal just this past lap, which means he is gaining on Alex Gall in the lead of this race. But Hugh Haycock's now a full second behind because of that misshift. Just one mistake puts you back, and that's where the experience comes in for Yuko Lesko this race.
Let's jump a little back in this field because Hideki Koivisto in 11th has Rangel, Shanahan, and Tupola very close behind. In fact, I think Rangel's going to take a deep dive. Oh, but he's going to make contact, and Koivisto gets turned around. Rangel eventually gets the car moving, but both of them are down many positions.
This is a move we've seen many times throughout the series, and I think that this is just one of those moments where it's just too late of a move. He was not alongside going into the braking zone. He sends it deep to try and take that opportunity. Ends up just sticking his nose in when Koivisto had already turned in. So unfortunately, both of them going off track there and losing a ton of positions now to the back of the pack.
Check on to Thomason in the number 16 machine, up to 5th currently, but behind him, Ian Haycox finds himself all over the back of that number 16 machine. A little bit more powerful than the SRF, but also probably with slightly more grip.
Yeah, Ian doing a good job right now. Looks like he's just got it a little bit wound up in the front brake bias, which is going to mean he's going to be wearing out those front tires a little bit, but that might be better than getting brake frayed, so we'll have to see how that works out for him over the course of this race. He's currently chasing down Max Thomason and Niels Kor up there. Currently in the 6th position is Ian Haycox trying to chase these guys down. Got to look at corner exit in these Audis. That's going to be your best way to catch up to people.
Meanwhile, as they spread apart, the battle between Schneider and Campbell's not given up. Schneider still leads, still holds that 5th position. Campbell still chasing. And that red and white machine you see them on the heels of, that is Tobias Gerber. And I think they've been closing in on that number 12, so this might become a 3-car battle soon.
Definitely will. Nicholas Schneider's going to be looking for that draft that he's going to be able to get off of Tobias to try and pull himself away from Sean Campbell, who's been putting some pretty heavy pressure on him over the course of this race. Nicholas with a good exit off of the last corner. Now he's got a decent run down, but Sean Campbell is still hanging on to him. Nicholas has got to be a little frustrated probably because he's not used to people being able to attack him from behind. He takes it a little bit deep through turn 1, able to hang on to it. That was a little bit slow there as they go through Williams and head towards Moss. Nicholas Schneider able to pick up the speed once again and pull a little bit on Campbell, but that was a mistake that could have cost him a position there.
2 wheels were nearly in the dirt. He's got to be careful as they come up out of Atwood, though. Once again, Campbell looking quite strong. Gets it down to 0.3 of a second. Not a whole lot of slipstream to speak of here, even though this is the longest straight of the track. And there you can see, yeah, he just can't manage to run him down once again. Deep into the corner, though. There goes Schneider.
Yeah, Schneider too deep into the corner. Now he's got to try and do a short turnover, and here we go. Campbell to the inside. Schneider trying to hold on the outside, but the superior grip from the downforce is going to mean that he's going to be able to hang on to that position. But Campbell's going to have to be getting frustrated right now, trying to make his way by Schneider, who seems to be struggling on the brakes already, only 7 minutes into this race.
Campbell hassling, but still can't manage to make the overtake. They're now coming upon lap traffic in the GTO class. I think that was a driver that had issues. I see a driver exiting from pit lane. That's just Joseph Mudrack. He unfortunately had a disconnect as a little bit of a look from Campbell again, but still not able to execute.
I think he's trying to get Schneider to defend a little bit and possibly wreck his line because he saw that Schneider is vulnerable into the first corner. But now both of them exiting through Williams, through Moss, now trying to... Oh, we've had a wreck up ahead, it looks like. That's Oren Laskin who's had a moment as he's gone through Atwood. That was right next to Alex Millward in third.
Yeah, I think he spun himself with 2 wheels in the grass on corner entry, so he's just trying to find a clean way to get back on course. As we got a battle for 8th. Ooh, this is Sintez Galindo, who's going to duck to the inside, down into the hairpin. He manages to get the overlap with Jungbluth. Jungbluth fights back. The track swings back left through Revolver, and he's going to be able to retain it. This checks both of them up to Jacob Leon behind.
Yeah, and as they're battling, it's important to note that Jeffrey Marconi just had his own spin, and Matthias Hovdal's actually catching up to Alex Gall right now. It's down to half a second.
So Hovdal's fighting back. As, these two continue fighting. And wow, that is a lot of traffic in front of them. Rangel and Shanahan caught at the absolute worst time through Williams. It checks up Gall, but it also causes Hovdal to have to get off the power.
There was a decent run for Hovdal off the corner, but he just didn't have any clear track to make use of that. Now Hovdal, we know how much he trims out this machine, but not a good run through Atwood. Ends up going a little bit wide as we see Alex Gall have a little bit of a connection issue, but Hovdal's got a decent run. Here, look at this. Gall trying to cover off that inside, but he knows that Hovdal's not going to make it, but Hovdal's going to try and set it up the inside right now, but Gall, much better on the brakes, is able to get to the apex, but misses it on the second half of the turn. This is going to open up Hovdal to possibly do a crossover here. He's going to go for it. He's going to try and make it up the inside, but can't quite get the overlap before Gall turns in.
Oh, but every time, I think he's distracting Alex just enough that he is swinging wide as he's trying to give a little space to make sure and keep the car whole in case Hovdal chucks it in too hard. They cycle around the outside of Montero. And then up next, it's a battle between Liebenau and Hamill-Smith. This is for 8th position in those GTOs.
Oh, look at this. We've had a big battle that's still forming up with Jungbluth. Jungbluth actually making... looks like he's been able to hold off here Aitor Sintez Galindo, but Jacob Leon still tucked in behind him and Kraytrick behind them as well. So very intense battles all over the track right now.
Schneider is making sure to keep his thumb firmly on this spot. Still in P5 as we're watching Jungbluth now ahead of Galindo. But then up at the front, it is Hovdal still chasing Gall, and Gall has to brake a little bit early with Niels Kor in front of him. Doesn't open the door enough for Hovdal, but still, look, he just can't find a way around, and all over his rear wing. Hovdal poking and prodding it still is not giving him what he needs.
No, Hovdal's trying to get through, but Alex Gall doing a great job being super defensive right now. Hovdal trying to find his way around, but he's got to focus on the corner exit right here through Hobbs. He's got to try and get a good run off the corner so he can go through Mike Knight in the last corner with good speed. But look at this, Alex Gall with that extra downforce can be a little bit more confident on the throttle right now, and Hovdal almost going into the gravel. He's going to lose that opportunity. Gall's got the draft from Reed Miller up ahead, but it's going to be challenging down into one.
Oh, and they're going to catch Miller at a really awkward time. He holds off to the right, making sure that they've got clear track to try and weave through. 2 more to go in this GTO field, and they'll be through them for the first time.
And side by side between Nicholas Schneider and Tobias Gerber right here, and Sean Campbell's in that battle as well, as they've been catching up to Tobias. Nicholas Schneider has now made it past Tobias. Sean Campbell trying to do the same, but here they come up to a lot more traffic as they dive it down into Atwood. Sean Campbell and Nicholas Schneider able to get through Tobias, going backwards right now, Joe.
Oof. Well, Tobias having a bit of a rough run there. And unfortunately, I don't think the traffic's going to work back in his favor, even though they are going to be caught to the inside of a couple GTOs. Doesn't really net him a whole lot of time.
Important to note that Matthias Hovdal caught up to Hugh Haycox through Revolver and Piper, and that's actually gapped Alex Gall up to about 1 second ahead of Hovdal, so that battle is now taking a break for a moment.
A little bit of a lockup from somebody there into Redmond, as Tobias Gerber tries to keep hold of Sean Campbell just ahead of him. We're past 10 minutes into this race. This is the fight for 4th, 5th, and 6th, and I think Campbell might have something. He's got a good run on the front stretch. If he's very brave, he can try and chuck it in, but no, he's not quite there. Once again, we see Reed Miller exactly where we saw the leaders trying to overtake him before, but he's very heads up, and he's going to allow them past.
Yeah, Reed's 5 seconds behind Hugh Haycox and 4 seconds ahead of Niels Kor, so he's got no pony in this fight right now. Sean Campbell and Nicholas Schneider, one of the things you're going to notice in this series is going to change from past seasons is brave on the brakes is not going to be the name of the game anymore with that, with the brake fade being in play. You're going to have to definitely get alongside in order to try and make it past these days.
This has calmed down just a little bit, so let's check back in with our leader in the GTOs. Luko Leskala is up to 2.5 seconds ahead of Hugh Haycox, clearly looking like he's got better pace than that number 3. But traffic can always play a major factor in how these races unfold. If he gets caught at the wrong time, then the battle could be on once again. In fact, Hugh Haycox is not giving way to the fight that we were just watching. Nick Schneider and Sean Campbell are getting chopped off at some of the apexes.
Yeah, for sure, and that's definitely holding up both of them. Hugh Haycox getting chopped off at that apex as well, so Sean Campbell losing a ton of time to Nicholas Schneider up ahead. That's about a second gap, and that's the time that you're going to lose if you get trapped behind an Audi around here.
Of course, Hugh Haycox, the son of Ian, who's just a couple positions down in this race. We're used to seeing them over in the SRFs racing with one another.
Oh, the leaders had a moment. The leader, Hugo Leskala and Nicholas Schneider, rather. Hugo Leskala has been shoved off track by Nicholas Schneider as they were going through Moss.
He's still off track, and this is bringing Haycox into it. I said it before, you can't count the traffic out. And now the battle is on once again. Will he be able to take a dive? Does he dare take a dive? And how damaged is Leskala's car?
Leskala shouldn't have too much damage from that off, but that was a gigantic moment, Joe. I can't believe that Hugo was able to hang on to it and not hit the outside barriers.
Looks like we might have a good shot at the replay because it's pretty hard to pass through here. Did this happen through the Moss S? Is that where I'm seeing this?
Yeah, this is what happened. So as you can see, this is Nicholas Schneider coming up to try and pass Yuko Leskala. Yuko just taking his normal line. Nicholas didn't realize he was going to do so, and they both make contact, and then Yuko ends up just having to go wide in order to avoid making further contact with Nicholas.
Did a good job because he actually went through the grass right when he was trying to brake and managed to keep the car under control. So Haycox, who is within half a second, lets themselves be split by Laust Olsen, but another one making contact, and Olsen spins off the track into the wall. This time, though, it doesn't shove our leader off the course, as now Sintez Guindo also goes by. Let's take another look here.
Turns out that, this first little sector right here is starting to become one of the most dangerous places on the course for multi-class. Look at this. Laus Olsen thought that Yuko's going to go faster, which makes him end up making rear-end contact with Yuko Leskola, and that ended up being the difference that ended up sending him off track. He's now trying to recover. Not too much damage on that machine, but it'll still affect him.
And you see him running back down in 12th position currently. Oh, we had a spin in front of our GTO leaders. Fabian Jungbluth just lost it and caught it in a big way. Thankfully, it didn't become as dramatic as I thought it would. Let's take a look at the replay. This is a phenomenal catch. We need to hop to the replay here as we're still live. It's happened through Revolver. Yeah, there's just after he pulled it back together.
So here we go.
This is the battle he's been in. Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, approaching the corner, he ends up clipping the outside grass just a little bit, ends up just sliding it through the corner, holding the brakes just enough to get that car to settle down a little bit, and is able to maintain position more or less. So a great job for Fabian to hang on to that thing and keep it ahead of Martin Krejcir.
Ooh, let's go back to Sean Campbell, because this is now between three drivers in a big way. Campbell, Schneider, Gerber, all fighting for 4th position. They speed down the backstretch towards the hairpin, and it looks like Schneider fancies a go at things, but then can't get the car side by side.
Yeah, Schneider must have a little bit of damage from that contact with Yuko Leskola that possibly is affecting his straight line speed, which he's known for. So with that major advantage taken away, he's going to have to be extremely aggressive to stay ahead of these guys, especially when you've got fast drivers like Tobias Gerber tucked in behind you, and another fast one like Sean Campbell tucked in ahead of you. If he wants to maintain this top 5, he's going to have to work at it.
We keep seeing big lockups in front of him. I'm trying to figure out if that's Shanahan or Volaire who is in front of them. Both of them lapped cars.
It's Shanahan, Joe. The Audis are really struggling with trying to get those front tires to slow the car down at this point in the race, where the drivers who have wound up too much frontward brake bias are starting to get major lockups as Nicholas Schneider takes evasive action to the inside of turn 1 and is going to end up side by side with Volaire. Oh my goodness, that was almost a moment that ended Schneider's race right there.
Just inches between himself and Shanahan. Great heads up. And this spreads them apart compared to last lap. Coming off this corner, there was nothing between them now. They've each got about 2 or 3 car lengths. So not expecting much in the way it passes this time down into hairpin.
Might be worth taking a look at the GTO lead once again. Yuko Leskola and Hugh Haycock still about half a second spread apart. Yuko, just with a better understanding of the car, is being able to stay ahead. This is Laus Olsen who's coming into the picture. Remember, the last time Laus Olsen came into contact with Yuko, they made nose to rear contact. Yeah, exactly. So Laus Olsen's going to be very thankful for the fact that there's a nice long straightaway to blast past Yuko Leskola this time around.
That's Jeff McConey, and that is for position. So a fight for 12th as they go by our fight for the lead in the GTOs. Gives them just enough space. And then McConey has to wait patiently.
Hugh slid it through as he went through Revolver there. That was really close for him. Turn 6 ended up being a little bit of a struggle. He's lost some time to Yuko now.
Little mistakes like that have to be minimized in this series. The top runners are just at the height of their game most of the time. As they come through Hobbs and up to the highest point on the track, then it's plunging back downhill into the front stretch. Indeed, it's 0.7 of a second between Haycox and Leskola.
And to be honest, Joe, I just don't think Hugh Haycox quite has the experience in this car yet to be able to get past Leskola without a little bit of help from traffic. So I'm expecting Hugh to be looking for every opportunity he possibly can get to make that traffic work for him.
One thing I will say, though, is that Haycox is used to a little bit of chaos coming from that SRF series, where they have the big grid races, up to 60 cars sometimes competing to his inside. Oh, and that's contact with Joe LaFilippe, who unfortunately went in a little bit hot.
Yeah, I mean, I guess the move was there, but he also ended up washing out wide, so Hugh trying to take the line to get the best speed off so that he could stay up with Yuko ends up losing about a second due to that, unfortunately.
It could have gone a whole lot worse, but this has got to be frustrating for Hugh. Just not catching the luck with traffic. Leskala, though, is going to be held up, and some of that time will come right back to him as he takes the long way around in Redmond.
Yeah, that's most of the time given back, actually. So, yeah, unfortunately, Yuko just getting caught up a little bit by the traffic.
Let's jump back to 8th place, where Jacob Leon still sees Fabian Jungbluth and Martin Krejcik hot on his heels. Joseph Mudrack's not in the fight for position. He's a lap down. Onto the backstretch. Still getting that little bit of wheel spin. They still have a lot of power underneath those cars. Watching from the gearbox of Jacob Leon, Jungbluth, who is too far back for a pass, now spies something in the form of Mika Tupola just in front of him. The 13 being lapped and at a very unfortunate spot.
Yeah, this is holding up Leon a lot. Fabian Jungbluth can't really... Oh, he's actually going to take a look to the inside here. Leon is a little bit too far ahead to actually put his nose in, but Jungbluth is definitely trying to show Leon that he wants to make a move here. Now, up ahead of them is Mark Valer in that yellow machine, so the two yellow machines that are bookending this three-way fight are not for position, but Mark Valer and Joseph Mudrack are both on the same lap. That was a scary moment, and this is going to be the move for Jungbluth. He's going to be able to get alongside Leon.
Will he be fully passed, or is Leon going to try and fight back around the outside as they brake hard for the first corner? Almost makes contact with him, spins up the tires yet again, but the pass is made and Jungbluth is into 8th.
All right, boys, that was a nice fight between both of them. Leon trying to do everything he could to hang on to that position, but Jungbluth very confidently saying, no, this is mine and I've got it. But now, how much has that worn out his tires? How hot are they at this moment? Because he was a little bit wide as they went through Atwood. So as they go back up the hill, Leon starting to gain a little bit. They're going to catch Hideki Koivisto at the apex of the hairpin here.
And Koivisto's just taking his line, as he's allowed to do. He does not have to leap out of the way. He just has to try and facilitate it to the best of his ability. And as they come onto the run behind the pit complex, it looks like, Leon, he almost had a bit of a go and then saw that it was too short of a straight. Still, look at how tightly they're being chased by Martin Krejcik behind them in the 15.
He's just struggling with corner exit, Joe Krejcik is. He's not putting the power down quite as much as the two ahead of him. Now, important to note, Hideki Koivisto actually did everything right throughout that sector. That is exactly what you want to do as an Audi, because if you pull over, you're actually going to end up causing more problems for the Nissans ahead of you. So you just have to grit your teeth and realize that they're going to be frustrated and held up behind you, but that's the best you can do in that situation. And letting them pass as they go through Piper is the right move.
16 minutes left to go on the clock, yet more of the traffic having to get out of the way of this battle for 8th. I think they'll get just a little bit of a breather for the time being down the backstretch. Haven't missed anything up at the front of the field. Gall still leads Hovdahl by about 2 seconds. Haven't seen much of an advantage from the number 5 to try and chase down him, and Leskala, ever since his major incident down into Atwood, has kept Haycox at 7/10 back. Now we're looking back at the battle between Hamel-Smith and Liebenau.
Yeah, and the good exit from Liebenau there. He's going to have a good run on Hamel-Smith. They've got Tobias Gerbers going to the outside. Liebenau actually backed off a little bit. Not sure where Tobias was going to go. It's going to be 3 wide into the breaking into 1. Unfortunately, the GTP is going to have an advantage there. Hamel-Smith just going to let Liebenau go here. And he's going to try and do a little bit of a crossover, though. But it's possible that these two have been battling for a long enough time. Look at that. Hamel-Smith with a much better corner as they go through Williams here into Moss, but he just can't get the power down.
So for now, Al will keep the 8th position in the GTO class. Coming up and off Atwood Corner. It's a long climb up that hill before they get to the top. And as he chases him down the backstretch, it was not a good exit for Jamie, unfortunately. So no attempt to pass this time through.
Yeah, Jamie's got some good speed under braking. The trouble is that his corner exits aren't working out for him, and that's exactly where you need the speed in the Audi in order to have an advantage.
Well, last time at Road America, we saw the cars change quite a bit by the end, just like that. And that was a big slide that allowed, unfortunately, Hamill-Smith back through. I was just about to mention the cars change a lot because of that brake fade. I wonder if Albrecht is starting to experience that.
I mean, you had to say something, right, Joe?
Yeah, of course. It's always my fault.
Well, leave it out trying to get a good corner exit, ends up missing a shift, so that's going to be an opportunity for Jamie Hamill-Smith to run away. There's that second that just gets tacked on. You know, you're in a battle with someone, you miss the shift, you can just be like, all right, add a second to the board, I'll get around him later, I guess.
Let's jump back up to Campbell, the battle for fourth in our GTPs. Ahead of Nick Schneider, but these two have been really glued at the hip since the drop of the green. Reed Miller in front of them, along with Xavi Iborra. Xavi is a lap down, so that's not for position. Miller doesn't want to lose time, but he also doesn't want to cause a crazy situation, so he's going to back out of it.
Yeah, Xavi just a little bit slow through Piper. He's going to hold up Sean Campbell. Campbell actually taking a very gutsy move to take the inside away from Reed Miller through Piper. That can often end in disaster. But Reed Miller is one of the most experienced drivers on the grid in the Camel series, and Sean Campbell is aware of this. So you tend to trust those experienced drivers a little bit more than you do someone like Xavier Bora, who's a name that they haven't seen either in a while or ever in this series. So it's just the trust comes with experience and comes with more time spent on track with these guys, and that's I think why you saw Campbell make the move. Oh, we've had a big wreck between Leon and Jungbluth.
Jungbluth off the track. I think this is the final corner. Looks like Jungbluth was checking up with Sintez Guindo in front of him down into that final turn, and poor Leon kind of was blinded by the rear wing.
And then Leon just ends up running into the back of Jungbluth, sending him off track, so both of them losing a ton of time. Jungbluth is going to lose a couple positions there. Now going to be 8 seconds behind Krejcik up ahead of him for 8th position, so Jungbluth back down to 9th now with that incident. Fortunately, it doesn't look he's got that much damage, but that will definitely heat up the tires.
Turning the cameras back to the exit of Piper here, and Schneider is doing everything he can to chase down Sean Campbell. Jonathan Rickard in front of them in the number 27 car is going to be put a lap down. If it's not lapping one of the GTOs, maybe lapping one of the GTPs can offer up the chance that Nick is looking for. Takes a little longer to catch him, though, way off into the gravel on the exit. Campbell keeps his foot at it anyways and doesn't lose time.
You know, one thing we haven't talked about is the incident limit, and that's something that drivers can run afoul of here by going wide. There's about 3 or 4 points across the course of these laps where you tend to go wide, and it can add up over the course of a race. Wow, as they go past Heinz Hockeldinger. Great move there from both of them to make it by, but I'm starting to wonder, Joe, we're closing in on 10 minutes, and that's about when we saw the brake fade be at its worst as Sean Campbell's going to navigate past Hugh Haycox. That's Yuko Lesko up ahead. They're going to catch Yuko right at the apex of hairpin again.
But both of them are going to be between there. Oh, a little wide there coming into the corner from Nick Schneider. Gathers it back up. Going to be 10 minutes to go at the line this time by. Just have to wait and wait and wait, and then they see an open piece of track next to Leskala. Both of them make sure to get through at the same time, not wanting to be spread apart, at least in the case of Nick. He doesn't want them to be spread apart. Campbell would love to put a buffer between himself and the number 7 car.
One of the best passing opportunities is into turn 1, and Nicholas Schneider has just not been able to get a good exit off of this last corner. Just like that, Sean Campbell's been able to pull away every single time, and that's so frustrating as a driver when you know that one of your 2 best passing opportunities is into turn 1, and you just can't seem to get the exit that you need to make that happen. Nicholas Schneider's got to be super frustrated right now.
This is one of our best battles on the track for the time being. The laps sure do go by fast around here, especially being used to some slower vehicles that are almost 2 minutes in length just to cycle through.
Krejcik has stopped. He's had a wreck with Jeffrey Furkan.
Oh, no.
This was going through the first corner. Yes, this is going through the first corner, Joe.
All right, taking a look at this. He sent it up the inside, but Furkan was on another lap. Oh, man.
He ends up locking up the front brakes, ends up pushing wide a little bit. Furcon thought Kraytrick was going to carry the speed through, and that's what ended up slowing them down. Kraytrick now down to 10th position.
Well, I'm sure with how long we've seen Martin racing in this series, he knows that's the name of the game sometimes. So, looking once again at Yuko Leskala, credit to Haycox. Now that he got some of that time back with that incident, he's not let go of Yuko. He's been hanging at about 0.7 of a second back, loses a tenth coming off the final corner. I think another little mistake or another bit of luck coming the way of Hugh, and he's got a realistic shot at a win.
Yeah, the best way to gain speed in race pace around here is watching Yuko Leskala drive and following his lines as you go through the track. I know that I learned a lot from Yuko over the years, as Hugh Haycox actually misses a shift coming out of Williams. He's going to lose yet another second to Yuko Leskala, unfortunately, which I believe he'll be able to gain back. But Hugh's definitely started to deal with some of that brake fade, but learning a lot by racing behind Yuko Leskala, and a lot about Yuko's consistency that he's developed over the last 3 seasons. Oh, we've got a big gaggle around 12th in the GTPs, with a big battle for 5th position between Ian Haycox and Robin Happich for the GTOs. Look at this gaggle, Joe.
Yeah, that's McConey up at the front of them, one of the lesser experienced drivers in this Kamel GT series, and Radar Anderson
my goodness,
has shoved off course. Who was that? That was Ibora.
Yeah, Ian Haycox just decided to send it deep into Atwood, ends up making door-to-door contact with Ibora, who gets unceremoniously punted off track. Sent
to Bora Bora, basically. So, as the battle continues between McConey and Anderson, and somebody went off.
Max Thompson almost speared Robin Happich as they went into the hairpin.
Did he outbrake himself? Let's take another look at it.
Let's look up the inside. A little bit of connection issues, and then, oh my goodness, that was close.
I think he just braked later than he anticipated, because it looked like he was trying to avoid running into him.
And Joe, we got to go to the lead of the race, because Matthias Hofdahl's closed down Alex Gall due to traffic, and they're now nose to tail.
Oh, here we go. Hofdahl is going to be hungry for this one. It's been a bit since he's had his last win. He knows how to take victories here in the Kamel GT series. Once again, held up by De Thomason. This time, Alex Gall doesn't quite get the speed he wants off the corner, but neither can Hofdahl. A few more Audis in front of them. Hamel Smith, Liebenau.
They're battling for position too, Joe, so neither of them is going to want to give up time here. Look at this call. Weaving around the outside of Williams. Fantastic move there. Both of them cutting their way through. They both know that this is absolutely the battle for the win right now.
They accelerate off of the Atwood hairpin. Hofdahl can't quite get the power down as firmly as Alex Gall. Gall on back-to-back wins with the season finale. Ooh, look at from how far back the 5 was trying to send that one, then went back to the racing line. He seems to feel confident under the brakes.
He knows that Gall is struggling a little bit on the brakes right now, so he's trying to make things work right now. So they have the battle between Ian Haycox and Robin Happich. Up ahead of them, this is Heinz Hockeldinger that they're going to try and go by right now. So Hockeldinger's going to pull over and let him go. But these two guys, Haycox and Happich, are not going to want to move. They're both battling for the last spot of the top 5.
Happich is going to stay off to the side.
No choice there, Joe. He had to. Gall was sticking his nose in regardless.
Saw the writing on the wall as Alex is leading this race, but by a mere half a second over Matthias Hofdahl. Ian Haycox can continue to race his rival.
And take a look at this. Hugh Haycox, this is Yuko, who's currently trying to battle with Hugh Haycox, who's still about 7/10 behind him.
Yeah, this is where it's been stuck for a minute. Leskala, I'm sure, is happy to keep it there as long as he doesn't get tripped over by someone else or trips over somebody himself. Coming down to that final corner, they'll have another GTP between them. That's Leon that will gain him yet more time, and Hugh Haycock sees that gold and black Audi disappear into the distance.
Yeah, Hughes is trying to hang on right now to Yuko, and Yuko possibly is just managing the gap in the tires right now. We've had a wreck between with Albrecht Liebenau. I'll take a look at that. I think it was with Finn Danger back there for the bottom positions of both of those classes.
Let's take another look at it real quick, see if we can dissect this one. He was already wide coming off the corner. Must have already had some sort of issue. And then, whoop, that's way too wide. Whoa! Close moment with those he was fighting with on track.
And a separate incident from Liebenau, unfortunately, so both of those drivers having their own separate single car incidents.
As Flynn Danger runs in 18th out of 19 drivers. No, 20 are still running, I should say. Mudrack is still in this. Actually, we've only lost Daniel Phillips of everybody on the track. So despite seeing numerous occasions of drivers making contact with one another or going off track, there's only been a single one that has prematurely ended their race. We're watching Gall on screen yet again. Half a second back to Matthias Hovdal. This time by, are we down to 3 laps to go?
I think it'll be 3 to go when they cross the line, Joe. So this is starting to heat up. Hovdal's going to have to figure out how he's going to get by. They've got some good traffic up ahead. This is all lapped GTPs that they're going to be dealing with. Joe LaFilippe, Jeffrey Furcon, Raider Anderson, and Jeffrey McConey, and they're going to catch them by the time they get to the end of this race.
Down the front stretch. And this is not over. Alex Gall will know that. We're curious if his teammate is in the car right now or if he's able to at least watch what's going on with that number 1, probably cheering him on for the victory. Jeffrey Furcon and Joe LaFilippe in front of them as they cycle their way around and out of the Atwood curve. Now it's getting close between Campbell and Schneider. That's down to 0.2 of a second. This is for 4th position, and just saw Schneider make a move, as that is our leader continuing to lap slower cars.
Yeah, Sean Campbell and Nicholas Schneider now still, for the entire race, they've been nose to tail, and they're still nose to tail as they come off of Atwood. Here we go, taking a look at it. Campbell with a good run. Look at this. Campbell's trying to break the toe to Schneider.
It doesn't seem to be hurting, to say the least. I guess it's a strategy that'll work well enough for the time being. As they plunge back downhill, they're going to get caught up by Finn and Niels Core.
Oh boy, Finn trying to get out of the way of Sean Campbell, ends up actually almost pushing him off track there. So Finn just trying to get out of the way with his damage that he's collected. These two guys now, Campbell and Schneider, trying to make their way past Niels Core, who's trying to chase down Reed Miller, who's only about 1.5 seconds up the road. Oh my goodness, very held up behind Niels as Campbell and Schneider go through.
Didn't affect a pass, but it did give a little bit of a gap to Reed Miller.
Oh, Hugh Haycox has had a problem. He almost spun it coming off of Atwood, and he's lost a ton of time to Yuko Leskola.
Oh, he was pushing hard. Let's watch the replay. Just that understeer that this car is notorious for.
Yeah, understeers right off the track, ends up clipping the... Oh my goodness, unbelievable that he saved it. Back live now, he's got Alex Gall and Matthias Hovdal who are trying to get by him. He actually held up Alex Gall significantly. Hovdal thought about making an inside move into Redmond, can't quite do so. Now it's time for Hobbs.
Oh my goodness, he was barely left space at the apex. Hovdal squeezed inside of Haycox and made it stick. White flag being prepared by Barney down at the flag stands as they come out of the final turn. And Leskola is going to let them go by, so he will finish just behind our leaders in quick succession. 1 lap to go. If Hovdal is going to do something, he's got to do it now.
Oh, almost goes off the track coming through turn 1, now through Williams. He's got to make up a lot of ground. All Alex Gall has to do at this point is be consistent, because Hovdal's been trying to send it deep into these corners, and with the brake fade, he can't get the thing slowed down, Joe.
And look at the car start to squirm around a little bit as he accelerates off of Atwood. That costs him even more. It's up to 0.8 of a second. Is there any traffic in front? They'll catch Hideki Koivisto, but maybe at the very, very end.
Missed apex after missed apex for Hovdal. He just can't get the car slowed down anymore. It's just too much of a struggle with these worn brakes. And Alex Gall seems to be able to save brakes for the end of these races like nobody else.
They approach the back of the number 24, but it's really not going to make a difference in this fight. Alex Gall just has to be smooth. Nearly a second back to Matthias Hovdal. And Alex Gall, who started things off at the end of last season, taking victory, then switching over to this season with Road America giving him a win. It's 3 in a row now for Alex Gall as Hovdal finishes in second, and Yuko Leskala off the final corner himself is going to take another victory, making it even more likely he's going to be able to romp to another championship.
Campbell and Schneider still inseparable as they duck themselves off of the final corner, both of them going a little bit wide, but it looks like Campbell's going to hold on to that 4th position. Nicholas Schneider coming home in 5th.
Now, Happich is ahead of Ian Haycox, but it's only half a second. We've seen a lot of missed shifts around here. Robin is not going to be out of the woods. He's going to have to be as precise as possible with that finicky gearbox so as not to give it away in this last run to the line, and it looks good. So that'll give 5th place to Robin Happich, as I believe some of the last of our drivers are cycling on into. Thomason's going to beat Hamill Smith by a little less than a second. But everybody else...
and Rangel are battling off of the final corner. Rangel's not going to miss his shift, so he's going to be able to hold on to that 9th position ahead of Albrecht Liebenau.
That's the last of our battles, so we're going to take a quick break here on the Global Sim Racing channel. We'll come back with the official results as well as driver interviews, so don't go away. Welcome back to Okayama. Round 2 in the Kamel GT series saw both of the battles for the lead stay within a few seconds of one another the entire race. But Alex Gall withstood that pressure and came away with his 3rd victory in a row, 2nd one of this season. And Matthias Hovdal, not the one that I expected to be the biggest contender here today, but he proved that he was the one to watch out for, finishing in second, just scantly behind Alex Gall. Millward, surprisingly, despite being up at the top last week, had to settle for P3 today, with Sean Campbell in fourth, who had just a heck of a fight with Nicholas Schneider all race long, who finished fifth behind him. Tobias Gerber, unfortunately, still working on that race pace, but from third to sixth is not too bad. Heitor Sintes Guindo was seventh, and Fabian Jungbluth was in eighth. Jacob Leon in the wars today. He finishes ninth, with Martin Krejcik rounding out your top 10. The next slide, falling backwards, was Laust Olsen into 11th, and Jeff McConey was the last driver on the lead lap in 12th. Joe LaFilippe was 13th, Radar Anderson in 14th, and Paul Duke in 15th. Then it was Ricard, Furcon, and Danger, the last of our drivers within the first two laps of our leaders.
Yuko Leskola comes home with yet another win in the Kamel series. We're gonna have to start keeping track of just how many he's got at this point. Hugh Haycox, after passing Yuko Leskola to start the race, couldn't hang on to it and ends up coming home in second, just a second behind Yuko Leskola. Reed Miller comes home in third, a great race from him, holding on to that position from the start. Niels Kaur in fourth, trying to catch up to Reed, just couldn't get it done today. Robin Happich, a good battle with Ian Haycox as well for fifth and sixth, with Max Bader Thomason in seventh, ahead of Jamie Hamill-Smith in eighth. Pablo Rangel and Albrecht Liebenau battled at the very end of the race for 9th and 10th positions, with Rafael de Souza Monteiro finishing in the 11th position. Hideki Koivisto, pretty lonely himself this race, in the 12th spot, with Brian Shanahan 13th, Man Mika Tupelo 14th, and you get your drivers who had a lot of trouble: Joseph Mudrack, Laskin, Hawk Holdinger, Boulder, Ebora, and Phillips.
Looks like we've got our winner ready to talk to us, Alex Gall. Alex, congratulations on yet another victory. This time, though, Matthias Hovdal was the one that seemed to chase you home. It looked like he made you sweat a few times.
Well, yeah, it was a very intense race because the track is super short and there is so much traffic going on. We passed some cars, we passed them like 6 or 7 times.
Yeah,
I just couldn't make a gap to Matthias because I probably a bit cleaner overall, but it's just too tight with the traffic here.
Did you find the car a little bit better, though, now that they've changed how the tire behaves without the fake turbo lag, I guess we could say it used to have? Did it feel a little bit more fun to drive around this place with all the hairpins?
It's not as fun as the Audi, that's for sure. This is a beast in the tight hairpins. But I would say it definitely helped. I haven't driven Okayama in the Nissan before the update. I don't know how it will feel like, but it will probably not be good, to be fair.
You're up to 3 in a row now on the broadcast races. We head off to Interlagos. How long do you think you can keep this streak up?
Well, I did not win Road America, that's for sure.
Oh, excuse me. That's right. Sorry.
I will see what I can do. I tried to prepare a little bit because we also got Sebring 12 hours on the side. So maybe for Interlagos I will have a bit more time and to make sure it's I do things the right way.
Well, we'll keep an eye out for you. And again, congratulations on another victory.
Thank you, guys.
And that was my poor memory not serving me correctly, as now it seems that Adam has caught up with Matthias Hovdal, who was right on the tailpipe of that number 1 car.
Yeah, Matthias, you gave it everything you possibly could today to try and get past Alex Gall, but it seemed like it was possibly just a little tiny bit of a setup difference that seemed to mean that you weren't getting quite the exits you were looking for.
Yeah, so I've been struggling after the update to the tires and all that to take care of the tires. There's basically more tire wear, and it feels like there's also more degradation. So my usual preference of running less wing, I tried to go to more high downforce setup, but even then I'm struggling. So I think my pace was maybe a little bit better than Alex in the first half of the race, but toward the end I was just struggling for grip, and of course with a little bit more wing than Alex had, I think. Yeah, just couldn't get the exits, and I didn't really have the speed on the straights either, even when I was in the draft.
Yeah, super frustrating to be behind Alex for so long, knowing that you've got a little bit of pace on him towards the beginning of the race. But talk to me about the traffic today, because with such a tight and windy and short course, especially going through the Moss S and into Atwood, that seemed to be a trouble spot for everyone today.
Yeah, it's very difficult to pick the right side because it's kind of snaking back and forth, obviously. And yeah, the technical sections as well. It's just too even with the increased grip we have now in the Nissan, you just can't make a move on the Audi there because the four-wheel drive obviously makes them quite fast there still.
For sure. Next week we head to Interlagos, and that is quite a different track, especially for the Nissans, a little bit more downforce dependent and a little bit better for your guys' high speeds. What are your thoughts heading into that race?
Yeah, it's not really my favorite track, all the hairpins and all that. Yeah, I think it's a bit tedious, but, we'll manage. I think some of the hairpins and all that is kind of similar in character to this. But yeah, we'll see how it goes when practice starts.
Well, for sure, Matthias, and congratulations on your second place. Is there anyone you want to thank today?
Yeah, I want to thank Alex for a good race, and congratulate him on a well-deserved win.
Well, congratulations yourself on second place, and we look forward to seeing you next week.
Yeah, thanks.
That was Matthias Hovdal, our second place finisher in the GTPs, and back to you, Joe.
And that's going to wrap us up for this afternoon. We want to thank the Kamel GT community for bringing us back for another season of coverage, but also we want to thank the companies that provide the software and the hardware for our broadcasts that are listed here on your screen. Additional thanks to June Lalonde, who provides our wonderful music. See the screen for how to get a hold of more of her great work on her Bandcamp, which includes her new album. And thanks to the team today, Adam, Sean, and Dougie. If you'd like to find out more about GSRC, including upcoming races, you can find it at globalsimracingchannel.com or check out our social media through the outlets listed at the bottom of the screen. And if you'd like to support the channel, check out our merchandise store at gsrc.storeenvy.com. We keep a link in the description below. Don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel as well so you don't miss a moment here on GSRC. The next race will be at Interlagos, Saturday, April 3rd at 1 p.m. Eastern. We also have upcoming races for other series listed on the screen, so check those out and mark them down on your calendar, including up later this evening, the Bootleg Racing League Grand National Series goes to Nashville for the start of their new season at 9 p.m. Eastern. Until next time, race clean, race hard. We'll see you on the track.